Another Quickshotz, another camera angle. I'm recording this in 4K, which I've discovered on this particular camera results in a slightly longer focal length. So the camera down here in front of the monitor doesn't work because it made my head absolutely massive. Plus, recording in 4K, you could see every blemish on my beautiful face. But from this angle, you're just going to get the reflection of my bonce instead. Nothing really to well, I've got lots of stuff to discuss. I've got a lot of things in the works for future vlogs, but this one is all about showing in some inspirational work, work from photographers, and also going through the results of the first Boom competition at the best output of the month, which was for March. I asked people to enter their favourite image that they had taken in March, and I would take the best 5 or the 5 that I liked the most and show those on screen, and eventually pick a winner, the best one, who would win a Photographing Scotland book, kindly provided by Kay's Filters and PhotoView Books. So Dougie Cunningham's Photographing Scotland, used that last week, really quite good. So let's just jump straight into it. So, oh, why isn't that working? There we go. There we go. Right. Boom. First image, Ollie Pocock. Ollie sent this to me, and Ollie has been on one of my videos before. Oh, he's actually been on 2. So Ollie, you're not going to win. I will tell you that now, but I could be accused of favoritism, but I really, really do like this image. This is an image from Denoric, as I'm sure many people watching this vlog will recognise. This is a photograph of one of the wheelhouses at the top of one of the inclines, the main incline, and I think this is right at the top of the quarry, actually, this particular one. And these used to be used to winch down the sleds that took the slate to the bottom of the quarry, ready to be loaded up and taken away. He's found a really nice, interesting foreground here with this this nice piece of rusted steel, whatever it is. I don't think he's bent that himself. I'm sure it was already in place. He hasn't moved it from anywhere. So good spot there, Ollie. But got some wonderful light in quite moody conditions, and wonderful side lighting, interesting lead-in line. Not really much else I can say about it. I just really like it. Apart from, well, I'll say that he's used a 16mm lens here, which has resulted in a fair bit of distortion and these converging verticals here. So you know, I think it suits the image, but I try to avoid converging verticals, which is why I use the tilt shift lens. So I would have shot this at 24mm and then shifted across for a pano, just to get an extra sort of, make it more of a 20mm type shot in terms of width there. But he's gone for a 16mm ultra wide, and that's resulted in a fair bit of distortion. But I think it kind of works here. So good job, Ollie. Next up is Rich Walker and his photograph from Dartmoor of Bowerman's nose. He wanted to get a full rainbow on this particular day. He only managed a half rainbow, but what he's ended up with is quite a happy, beautiful scene, you know, conveying beauty. A really lovely, sunny, showery day, which is often when you get the best conditions. It looks perhaps a little bit bright this area on the left and around here on the right hand side. But you know, it's the sun, I guess. The sun breaking through the clouds. There's probably, you know, if you used Lightroom and use a little bit of dehaze on this area, it would probably bring out that precipitation up there. So a local brush and a touch, just a touch of dehaze would probably just show that up, because that's quite an interesting feature of this scene, is the precipitation here, which is causing the rainbow. I found this little blue bit here over on the left hand side distracting. It's really strong. It's the strongest area of blue on the whole sky, and once you notice it, your eye always kind of gets drawn towards it. So you know, a little bit of cloning there probably wouldn't go amiss. Rich, you need to clean your sensor. You've got a couple of dust spots, 1 and 2. Probably worth checking your images before you finalize them for dust spots, especially in the era of digital interchangeable lens cameras. But apart from that, I found the bottom right hand side here, this right hand corner, just a tad messy. I think you may have tried to darken it down, which means that your eye isn't drawn to it so much. But overall, you know, the placement of the subject, you've got the rainbow kind of in the right place, and overall, it's you know, it's a lovely image. It kind of makes me want to go there, which is all you can ask for, really. Next up, we've got Simon King. Simon didn't tell me where this was. I just recognised it instantly. It's Carmarthen Quarry in Snowdonia. I've been here many times, although I've not actually been to this particular spot where Simon has taken this image from. So well done for exploring a bit more, Simon. That's pretty good. What happens here is you park down at the just the V here. The car park is below there, and it's quite a haul up, quite a steep track, just for a couple of 100 meters until you appear into the Cum, and you're faced with this rather lovely lake, and then the pathway goes around to the left and comes across here, goes off, and then up the side of the hill. There's a few quarry workings here, or quarry buildings, and then the quarry workings, and his image is at the kind of the head of the Cum, looking back down on quite a stormy day. There's just a kind of a couple of things that I would do here, really. I mean, of course you could process it to look completely different, but I found this rock in the bottom right hand corner just edging into the frame is quite distracting. So, you know, maybe just darken that down a little bit, just so it's not there. You don't have to clone it out, just so that your eye isn't drawn to it. This little bit of cloud on the right hand side is just poking in, and it's just a tad dark, and again just creates a distraction on the edge of the frame. And then this side of the mountain just looks overly dark compared to the rest of the scene. And looking at where the light source is, which I assume is this kind of gap in the clouds, the light would be flooding towards, because we're looking almost due south here, would be flooding towards the lens down both sides. So this side probably shouldn't be as dark as it is, but yeah, my kind of image. I really quite like it. I might have to explore up the side of this particular hill myself. Next one is Dan Howarth with this infrared image from Formby on Merseyside. He's in the dunes and taking a slightly longer exposure here just to get some movement in the marram grasses. There's a lot of mimicry going on here, and that's what I particularly like about this. We've got these grasses, and they're being blown by the wind in kind of a if you from the bottom, it's kind of going in an anti-clockwise direction, so they're swirling up. And then you've got this little tree here, which is, you know, looking a little bit worse for wear, a little bit sorry for itself, but again, is in the direction of those marram grasses. That's where it's grown that way. So clearly the the wind direction here comes from the right on most occasions. And then up in the sky, we've got a similar thing kind of going on with these clouds, where they're kind of doing this anti-clockwise swirl here and then up here in the right hand side. I think that, again, that might be a little bit of a dust spot. So maybe you need to look at your sensor, Dan. The only thing I think here that I find really quite distracting is this really dark mass of cloud up on the top left hand side. So probably possibly light that up, and it's just such a shame that there's no sort of god rays coming down just to make this a particularly epic scene. I do think you could perhaps crop it down a little bit though, to eliminate this, or make less of this cloud on the left hand side, make more of these grasses in the front here, which I really like the blurry effect, and just to maybe get rid of a little bit of this this dead space down in the bottom right hand corner, and concentrate more on the interesting cloud in the center there. But you know, that's just one little thing I'd possibly think about doing, just cropping it down and tightening it up a little bit. And finally, we've got Alan Coles with a familiar scene. This is on the road into Porthmadog. It's Afon Classen, this river stroke estuary area, and I've passed this scene many times, never stopped, because I'm normally heading into Porthmadog just to get myself a coffee and make use of the 4G signal that you can get there, whereas you can't get it in the mountains. So I've never really sort of thought about it as a photographic location, but I think, you know, Alan was driving past and he saw this, had to stop the car, and I think, you know, he's done a fairly decent job. It's a really very pleasant scene, very calm, some lovely fair weather clouds in the sky. This mountain here is Knecht, and then we've got Molwyn Mawr, or Moelwyn Mawr, I think, here on the right hand side. Interesting decision to include the quarry in the shot. I'm a fan of quarries, not so much modern quarries, which this one is. It's a real eyesore in this particular location, but it's fairly well hidden by some of the foliage here, and the colour of the machinery and the buildings is fairly muted compared to the rest of the surrounding landscape. So it kind of blends in a little bit, and I guess, you know, it'd be disingenuous to try and, you know, clone it out or anything like that. It's a bit big for that kind of thing. So, you know, don't include half of it, include the whole thing if you're going to do it, which is what Alan's done here. This little muddy area, bottom left-hand corner, I find is quite ugly. And I think, Alan, maybe you could have made a little bit more of this area, which is much nicer, this grassy bit here, by perhaps moving along a few meters to the right and twisting the camera around a little bit to try and maintain angle on the mountains with the reflections. Very difficult scene to compose, I can see that right now, but an alternative would be to maybe, you know, crop from a little bit further up into the image, just to get rid of this area. But altogether, you know, it remains quite balanced in terms of top to bottom, because these reflections of the clouds here and the reflections there are pretty balanced, they're pretty even, with the horizon being in the center of the image. So good job. So which one's my favourite? Well, I told you it wasn't going to be Ollie. And I've actually gone for Mr. King, Simon King. So, well done, Simon. Your image of Carmarthen has won you Photographing Scotland. The next competition for April, so get your images for April into me. They have to be in my inbox at Greg at gregwhitton.com by 23:59 on Monday the 13th of May, and you have the opportunity then to win the Dolomites photo view book by James Rushforth. Really great book. I used this in the Dolomites last year. I will no doubt be using it when I go back again later this year. And even if you're not planning on going to the Dolomites, it's got some really nice images in there, and it's really, really worth owning, because you never know, one day you might go. Right, on to the next thing. Inspiration, photographic inspiration. Now, I've got a little bit of a problem. I'm just going to have a drink, sorry. Got a little bit of a problem with YouTube. Or should I say YouTube? You may have picked up on this. You may have picked up on this. YouTubers and YouTube. You know, there's a lot of giving. Okay, so there's a lot of, you know, top 5 tips to improve your photographs, and you know, top 7 compositional tips, and how to do this and how to do that, and it's all really good. It's all really great information. Telling you how to do things, especially if you're a beginner photographer or whatever. And then there's a lot of videos, a bit like the way that I do mine with the location ones. It's more of a storytelling, visiting locations, showing you around locations, and then showing a nice image. But in essence, it's all very much me. And there isn't much give back in terms of the sharing of other photographers' work. Certainly not photographers who aren't on YouTube. You know, a lot of vloggers, landscape photographers on YouTube are quite happy to plug other photographers on YouTube, plug their channels. And that's a really great community, but you know, that's all kind of geared around increasing your own profile as well. And there is a whole bigger world out there beyond YouTube, which a lot more landscape photographers, really good landscape photographers, occupy. They just don't have an inlet into YouTube, either by design or not. And I kind of feel that a lot of there's a great volume of work out there that people on YouTube are just not seeing, and they're just not getting. And I think it'd be really good to promote the work of other photographers. And I've decided to do is, this is going to be the first one, is display a gallery of work. And provide social media links and a description of the type of landscape photographer they are, and you'll find that in the description below the video for each of the 3 featured photographers coming up. Yeah, just showing off some of their work, and hopefully open your eyes to other possibilities and other photographers, and give them a little bit of a push too. So there we go. Coming up now then is my photographic inspiration. This inspiring type of photography, it is projects, and it is portfolios of work as well. So where I've seen particular projects by certain photographers in passing, or somebody's pointed me to them, or if I've been following particular photographers whose just general work and portfolio I really admire, then they're all eligible for this. So eligible, they're all likely to be in here at some point. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy some rather lovely photography from Tom Lowe, Richard Ernie, and Lizzie Shepherd.